Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 7:02, and I'm going to ask Egypt to do the roll call.
Eden?
Present.
Shirley?
Present.
Christine?
Present.
Angela?
Present.
Amy's not here. Vincent?
Nope, not yet.
Stephanie? No? Grace?
She'll be here soon.
Okay. And Shauna? Here. Stephen?
Here.
Ken?
Here.
Natasha's not here. And Ben?
Present.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to start first with some soapbox speeches. So I'm going to let Dr. Mike and Linda introduce our students that we have tonight.
Absolutely. So, as all of you guys know, we're really very invested in Civics for All work. And part of Civics for All work is soapbox speeches. We've had these presentations throughout the year. We've had some of our amazing students come and join us. We're very fortunate. We have two students with us tonight, both of which that made it within the top 50 of all of New York City for their speeches. So huge round of applause before you. And one of our students that's here made it to the top 8 of speeches for in New York City. So big round of applause for both of them. So we have Esme is here from PS209. Welcome, Esme. And we have Ethan from College Point Collaborative. Esme's, oh wow, let's keep going. So Esme's speech was around recess and lunch. And Ethan's speech was around immigration, both of which I had an opportunity. Part of this process, the kids get to present their speeches and then their videotape. So I got to see the video presentation of it at the Metropolitan Museum of Art for one of the experiences, and they both did a fantastic job. So I'm really excited for them to be here to really showcase why Soapbox is so important, why Civics for All work is so important, and how our kids are able to take some of the things that are important to them and connect with an audience like we have here tonight. Not only are they going to connect with us tonight, but they were able to do this for kids across New York City that were able to hear their speeches. So I'm really grateful that they are here to join us. So Ethan, I'm going to invite you up for you to share your speech with us here tonight. We thank you. We thank your family for being here with us as well. So you can come right up in front.
Right here, should be.
Yeah, I think you're good there, right? Yeah. And whenever you're ready, you can share your speech with the audience and all of our folks that are joining with us from outside of the space.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ethan Novaez, and today I'm going to be talking about immigration and the effect ICE has on immigrants. You might be wondering how immigration is a big issue. Well, put yourself in the position of an immigrant, where every day they wake up in fear of their family being taken away, finding that their children have been picked up just outside of school by immigration agents, and being held in detention centers. Well, this is the reality of most immigrants in America. From TradeSports.com states, on September 21st, 2025, more than 71.5% of current detainees have no criminal convictions, and 59,762 immigrants were reported to be held in ICE detention centers. Just imagine coming to America to be put in a cage by someone who thinks you're a criminal just by the way you look, where you come from, and who you are. Some immigrants risk their lives every day to come to America, to not only support themselves, but their families. Take my grandmother, for example, who had to take a boat across the sea to provide a better life for her son, my father. She risked her life to do that, and along with that faced a lot of struggles, such as having her boat side-capped in the middle of the ocean. But for 5 days she was there in that ocean, and the reason was to provide for her son a better life than the one she had. Some people don't get that chance. Some immigrants stay in those detention centers, and some stay there to the point where they die. From the World Health Organization website, it says 36.8 million refugees, 8.4 million asylum seekers, and 5.9 million others needing protection. And this isn't helped when organizations like ICE abuse these immigrants' rights. From between 2027 and 21, ImmigrationJustice.org states alone, a June 2024 report examined 52 deaths between 2017 and 2021, finding that 95% of those deaths could have likely have been prevented with adequate medical care. This report from 2 years alone. Think how many more today are being put in these detention centers where they are left to die. And for what reason? Because they're from a different country? Because of their skin color? It's different because of who they are. If we band together, we can make a difference and help these people out. The FFI states from July 2024 to May 2025 that their hotline volunteer team answered nearly 3,000 calls from people inside more than 50 detention facilities across the United States. Think about how many hours these people spend their own time just to help someone in need. It's amazing how dedicated organizations like this one spend their time helping others instead of helping themselves. This website provides actual ideas that the government can and should provide to help immigrants in New York City. Examples from the organization are $60 million for immigration legal services, including the restoration of Action NYC in schools, libraries, and hospitals. $40 million from the Immigration Opportunity Initiative, which provides legal services to low-income immigrants for citizenship, permanent residence, and other immigration-related legal services. And finally, $34 million for the New York Immigration Family Unit Project, the city's first and largest public defender program in the country for detained immigrants in removal proceedings before an immigration judge. As you can see, when our bright minds come together, we can make a difference. We are the United States of America, the United States of America. We live a dream of a world free of division, a world one can find a better life for themselves, a world where everyone is united. However, right now we live in a society where people judge each other for their skin color, and where kids get picked off the streets by immigration agents without warnings. However, it doesn't mean we back down. You can help by standing up for your fellow man, understanding your rights to freedom, and helping someone else understand theirs. And providing your time to talk and guide others to support programs like these that provide change to multiple communities facing this same problem. There's a good line that comes from a song by Bad Bunny, and it says, "Juntos más fuertes," which means together we are stronger. And I believe that if we all band together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Ethan, thank you so much. You did a fantastic job with your speech. You certainly had me connected, especially when, you know, these types of speeches, folks, when it's our kids and they're talking about something that is connected to their families, the vulnerability of our children, it certainly connects me right to what it is that you were saying the whole time. So Mom, Dad, thank you for your sharing Ethan with us, and for Ethan you sharing what was really important to you for us to hear. And I look forward to your future where you become Ethan that I learned about at this particular meeting, the great things that you wind up doing. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. So and folks, I'm sure you hear this from time after time with the kids that we have that come and join us, the power that comes from their voices, and something we want to continue to amplify across District 25, making sure that our students know that the things that they are passionate about can, in fact, be heard by other folks. So, again, thank you, Ethan, for doing that. And Esme, now we're going to have you come on up and share your speech with us as well.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Speak up a little bit for me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esme Dunn, and today I'm here to ask for your attention on a super important topic, and I think you might agree. Lunch and recess time is too short. By the time we find a seat, grab our food, eat, and just as we start enjoying ourselves, the bell rings. How many of us spend lunchtime catching up with our friends rather than actually eating? We should be able to do both, so I'm here to suggest a change. Please, hear me out. I think that lunchtime is too short. we should be allowed to have 30 minutes dedicated purely to eating. According to the National Institutes of Health, you should chew 20 to 40 times per bite. The goal is to thoroughly break down your food in your mouth to make it easier for your stomach to process and absorb the nutrients. Isn't that the main reason why we eat? To feed our bodies the nutrients we need to grow. Slower eating. Sorry.
Take your time.
You're fine.
Did you know that it takes our brains about 20 minutes to recognize the feeling of fullness? Slower eating also trains us not to overeat, which is also unhealthy. We also need time to digest before recess. I also think that we should have more time to play during recess. School's for learning, but it is also for making long-lasting friendships. Recess is a time to develop new friendships and meet other students from other classes. It is also time to connect with existing friends. We are in school together, but we are seldom allowed to talk in class. So, recess is a great time to share thoughts and ideas with your friends. It also gives our brains a moment to rest from all our schoolwork so we can refocus for our classes towards the end of the day. It's not just me who thinks it's important. According to child development studies such as Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and I quote, studies indicate a significant positive correlation between a child's social abilities in elementary school and their social skills and overall well-being in adulthood. End quote. If I haven't convinced you yet, let's imagine this. Imagine a school where you don't have to rush through your meals. A school where you don't have to sacrifice eating with play because you know there will be separate and ample time for both. Are you seeing it? I definitely am. So now, the big question is, how do we fit it all in without jeopardizing our learning time? Here's one recommendation I can think. What if we shorten every period by just 2 to 3 minutes? I'm sure you guys have even more ideas. So I called on the help of my fellow students. Let's put together a list of actionable ideas. Then we could bring our proposal to Ms. Eakin for discussion and hopefully a positive decision. Thank you all for listening, and I hope we can make a change together.
Actionable items with her team, and they have presented them. So we're working on it.
Esme, thank you so much. What a fantastic job that you just did. I'm just so proud of you guys for being here and for sharing what's important to you and why it's important. And for those that are on virtually and those that are here listening in, what I get so excited about is that our kids are not only here taking a stance, but they're doing research to make sure that they have that stance is supported by something other than just their own opinion. So you're hearing them quote specific spaces that support their claims, and I really appreciate you doing that. And I agree, you guys should be able to have that additional time and space for that eating of that meal and digesting. And I probably have to take some advice from you in terms of how many times I chew, because I definitely don't do that. I wind up doing more swallowing than I do chewing. But the opportunity for you guys to be able to connect with your peers is a really critical part of being in school. And I really appreciate you for elevating that for all of us tonight. So thank you, Esme, for doing all that you do. So big shout out to our building leaders as well that are here to join and participate in this. It really does mean a great deal, certainly for me, that you're here to support your learners. So thank you guys for being here to do that. But that is our soapbox part. I know that I get to go later on.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. But thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing your speech with our community.
Thank you guys for being here. You did amazing. Thank you guys, you did amazing. Okay, so next up on our agenda, we actually have district planning, who is going to speak to us about some things going on in the district. I don't know who's on from there.
So we have, Emily is on.
Okay.
We also have Ria is on.
Okay.
We have a number of folks from district planning that are here.
So Emily and Ria, who's gonna be speaking for tonight?
We are both speaking, but I will share my screen right now if that's okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Can somebody enable me to share my screen?
Oh, yeah, I'll do
We
that.
got you.
Yeah, you can try again. It should be fine now.
Perfect. All right, everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect.
Well, thank you all for having us here tonight. We are here to quickly chat about some ideas for the new building that we have going up in District 25. We're referring to this building as Q510, and we're very thankful and excited to be here. So thank you for having us. So from the Office of District Planning, we have a few people here, myself, Rhea, and Max, who's our Senior Director of Strategy. We also have Donna Taylor here from the Office of New School Development and Design to answer any questions about the new school process that you may have. And then we also have the Queens North High School Superintendent team, Dr. Tu and Anthony Stifler. As you will learn throughout this presentation, we are looking into a high school for this new building, so we're excited to have them here as well. And then, of course, we have Superintendent Dantona, who you all know and love. Okay, some goals for tonight's presentation is just to share information about the new high school building, again, that we're calling Q510, and then review some updated enrollment and utilization data in the area that this building will be in, which is College Point, and discuss some next steps on community engagement and just the new school design process for this building. Okay, so we're going to start with just reviewing some of the features that this building has. This is also known as St. Agnes. This used to be a Catholic school called St. Agnes, if you're familiar with that. The specific address is 1320 124th Street. It is in College Point in that northwest area of District 25. We have some renderings here from the School Construction Authority of what the building is being planned to look like, but it is anticipated to open in September 2027. And this is a high school design building with about 600 seats in it. Then we have a few amenities that we've listed here. If you have any specific questions on amenities, definitely let us know. We do not have the School Construction Authority with us tonight, but we're happy to reach out to them to get any specific details on any of these amenities if you have them. But just briefly, has 18 full-size classrooms along with a gymnatorium, which is a very common amenity that many new schools have. It's a combination of a gym and an auditorium where the seats sort of pull out from the side of the gym. Some science labs, music room, exercise room, cafeteria, and outdoor space. And then I know I've said this is in College Point, but just wanted to give you guys a map to show exactly where this new building is going to be located. So that hopefully you can see that star on the top left side of the map. That is building Q510. If you're familiar with the schools in the College Point area, it's just right down the street, like one block down from the middle school there, College Point Collaborative. So that'll be very close by. And just to reiterate that College Point is in somewhat geographically isolated area. There's no public transport over there and just 3 bus lines. So we wanted to note that it does take about 15 minutes to get from the center of College Point to the other nearby high schools, which are largely in Flushing. We have Bayside around there, Flushing, et cetera, et cetera. So it does take a little bit for students to get over there. So really excited for the opportunity to put something a little closer to home. And with that, I am going to pass it to Rhea.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Excited to be back and presenting at District 25. I've been gone for a bit. Just a note, if I start coughing, I was a little under the weather, so I might take a few sips of my water. But thank you, Emily, for that overview of St. Agnes or Q510, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the high school data side of things. So currently, Queens has a high school deficit of seats of just over 2,000 seats, and that means that across the district, we look at how many students or high school age residents there are, and then how many seats are available across all of Queens. We take sort of the excess and the deficit We end the seating, we put them together, and we figure out how many seats we're short. So that's about 2,000 seats across all of Queens. However, in District 25, when we do that same sort of study, we found that District 25 itself has a deficit of 918 seats. So again, looking at sort of the students that would go to high school and also the seats that are available just in District 25. The table below, it shows the top 5 schools that College Point high school residents attend. So that means that those kids who live in College Point that are able to go to high school, 9th grade, 10th grade, where do they go? And we have Bayside, Flushing High School, Benjamin Cardozo, Veritas, John Brown. And we found that many of those are already overutilized or overcrowded. And they're between 2 and 4 miles away from College Point. So to the point that Emily was making before, there is not really a high school in College Point. And so students have to travel out of the neighborhood to go to high school, and this would bring a high school into the neighborhood. So kind of what I just said, there's a seat deficit in District 25, and College Point doesn't have a high school. Most of the high schools that College Point high school residents attend are overcrowded. And so we would like to partner with you all, especially the College Point community, to figure out how to best use St. Agnes or Q510 to provide an accessible high school option for families who live in the area, and also possibly help address overcrowding at the surrounding Queens high schools that College Point high school kids go to. So, Donna, are you going to take on these two, or should I?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. So I'm going to pass. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I'm going to pass it off to Donna Taylor, who's from the Office of New Schools. Hi, Donna. And she's going to walk through some of the new school planning.
So, thanks, Rhea. Max and I were in town in April and went to and met with students from 2 different middle schools and administration from 4. Steph, you were at the second school with us, and heard a lot of interesting feedback about what students would like in a high school. And so we would love to continue those discussions and get more and more feedback on new school planning with the College Point community. We are so wanting to have the new school be something that happens in collaboration with the College Point community, not something that happens to you all. So we're working very hard to schedule those conversations with students, parents, all stakeholders in the community. And then, of course, we'd circle back and present initial ideas by the end of the school year based on the feedback that you give us.
So we'd love to hear from you all. We have a few guiding questions to help sort of facilitate some of the conversation. The first is, what do you all feel the greatest needs and priorities are to keep in mind when planning for the opening of Q510, this new high school building? The second is, as we enter the beginning stages of the new school planning process, what types of community engagement would be most helpful? Would it be something like community meetings like this, coming to CEC meetings? Would it be, town halls? Is it a survey? We would love to hear what would be the best sort of mode to get information from you all so that you can be engaged in this process. And the third is, what types of programming would families in the community like to see at a new high school in College Point? I think Donna would agree that we would love to open a high school that is aligned with things that the community wants and that kids would like to go to. So those are a few of the guiding questions that we have. And so I think we can open the floor up to a few questions, if there are any.
Thank you, Rhea. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Donna. So I had met with Emily recently and the team as just like a little intro to learning about this. And I did feel that, you know, it's interesting that there is nothing in College Point for kids. I think it'll be nice that they have the option to not have to travel as far. But I definitely wanted to have them come tonight so that everybody can kind of give their feedback as well, which is why we invited them, and just hear what people think about this. So anybody from the council, feel free to chime in.
I think it's a great idea. I think if there was a high school closer, even though my daughter has a good commute, I probably would have sent her there.
So just so that
She
everyone,
goes to the big
knows that, as Donna mentioned, we came together, including myself, a member from Dr. Tu's team, and our building leaders with a group of kids to make sure that we started getting their perspectives. And one of the parents from College Point, who knows me as a, just through my dealings in our schools and as part of the DPAC committee, did share a few things just for you guys to also be aware of and to hear the things that she did kind of call out from conversations within the community. So these are some of the things, Rhea, Emily, Donna, that were mentioned from some of the families there already. And just so you also know, we're planning on getting community members all together so that we can engage in a larger conversation. But they talked about college readiness tracks, were things that did come from the parents. They talked about technology, and computer science as another area that they were keen and interested in. And healthcare pathways was also something else that came up as part of some of the things that they noted, just in some initial conversations that they were hearing from the community. So just throwing those out at you, just so that you, it was shared with me, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Ken?
Thank you so much.
Yes, I was in M379, the middle school, a week ago, and my initial impression is like we cannot find a parking spot around the neighborhood. It takes me about like 15 to 20 minutes to find a parking spot. That's going to be inconvenient for parents to visit or to go to the school, because there is no public transportation, not a limited public transportation nearby. So people have to go there a lot of them will go there by driving. So that's one of the concerns that I have. And also, from the list that you provided, I don't see any auditorium that are being out there. So I was in M379. They have a really interesting auditorium. They're using the cafeteria.
That's what this is
auditorium.
also. It's a gym and auditorium, they had mentioned.
It's a combination.
It's a combination, right?
Yeah.
So I hope, I know it's very crowded over there. Space is really limited. I wish, the high school has a big auditorium for, for either schools.
Anybody else have thoughts?
My question is why now? No, I'm joking.
You're welcome to ask.
I'm joking. I think that doesn't this high school address the fact that most College Point students are in College Point for high school?
Yeah.
I don't think many people who aren't living in College Point will go to this high school because of all the other options. So I guess just to answer for her, right? Like to get, I don't think I think the purpose of this high school is to give people in College Point an opportunity. You go to high school in College Point, and not go to Flushing like me, not go to Bayside like other people. Yeah.
I think that was actually something that I originally said to Dr. Mike, and Emily, I think I brought that up to you, is like, children from outside of College Point might not be the ones that would go there, unless there was specific programs, like Dr. Mike had mentioned, but definitely the kids in College Point wouldn't have to go travel as far to go to a school. And that was what was the plus side, even though I feel like they wouldn't get integration from outside of the area necessarily.
Yeah, if I could just jump in quickly here as well. So that was absolutely something that came up from a lot of the conversations that we've been having. We have looked at the numbers of the number of incoming ninth graders who currently live in College Point and the number of seats that are in this school, trying to figure out, are there enough people in that area to fill this class, assuming that it is going to be a largely local school? And the answer was yes, there would be enough people in the area to fill that. So obviously, if we have that programming that would really be attractive to families. That would be a great way to attract some people from outside of the College Point area. But we are definitely, as everyone is saying, expecting this to be more of a local school.
Stephen?
Hi. I was just wondering, like, are there any local community groups that you're planning on partnering with to bring attention to this? Because, you know, surveying's great, you know, all of the stuff you're talking about is really excellent, but we do have parents who may have their children in elementary private schools because it may be closer. And then, you know, or, you know, getting ready to have their, you know, move to the neighborhood. There's all of these external factors where this information could be really useful, but our normal means of communication within public schools may miss them. So are there any local community orgs that you're planning on partnering with to bring awareness?
Yeah, I might be able to hop in here. So typically when we've worked to open new schools and we, you know, try to engage the community, we've done things like go to middle schools, and, you know, when we kind of put out a flyer or a survey for a community meeting, we would put that out in the middle schools because those are the parents who are going to be transitioning into high school. So we would come to events like this. We would really kind of try to push it out as much as possible. We've worked with other sort of school openings and things like that to target the specific demographic that we're trying to reach. And if there are any sort of community groups that you know of that you think we should be aware of, you know, please send us an email. Please let Superintendent D'Antona know. You know, once we hear sort of what methods of engagement you guys would like to be a part of, and you know, that we should try to do. That's exactly the type of feedback that we need so that we can do thoughtful, meaningful engagement with those who need to be reached.
Thanks so much.
Charlie? Question. So I know it's going to open September 2027. Does this new high school has a program that's already established that willing to share with the community what they're gonna offer? Because for high schoolers, having, you know, AP classes, having like a clubs is very important for them because that's what goes on to their college application. So I just want to know if that will be accomplished before the opening, and how are you going to let the parents know of those informations? Because a lot of times parents, they do consider distance, but when your kids are a little older, they don't mind sending their kids a little further for the purpose of the academic. So I think the key point in this new high school is actually what kind of program you're going to bring in.
Yeah, Shirley, I think part of the engagements, I think, with the community is that they organize based on the feedback that they receive. You know, we're very fortunate we have someone like Dr. Tu in our community that, with all the amazing experiences that she has as a high school superintendent, and the programs that are already being offered in the schools that she's able to supervise currently, can build from a base, but within that base, here are some of the things that are important to College Point families in particular, and then designing the program out from that, which is why I think these engagements are so important, not only with the CEC, but with the College Point community in general. And some, you know, general feedback that I've received is that there is some excitement about the idea that there will be a school that parents can work with their kids on choosing that's right there in the neighborhood. So things like busing may not necessarily be an issue as much there, because most of the kids that are coming are within the residential neighborhood, so you're not going to have as much foot traffic, as driving traffic, as much as there'll be foot traffic, as many of the kids that go to the 379 are coming there by foot. You know, they're walking to school. Which I think the same thing will happen for the high school also. But I think that's why these engagements, to your point, are so important, to get an idea of what does the community really value, so that the program could correlate to that need and want from our families. Yeah.
And I have another question. So after the high school is open, how are you plan to? Just a curiosity, how are you plan to collect all the parents and students' inputs, like for example, this, you know, surveys, for example? Do you have any plan for that after it's opening? Are you going to, you know, we're starting from ground right now, so we need to build the data, and what will be your way to build that data, and how are you going to approach to families? That's just another curiosity I have. You know.
So Yeah, so a lot of the data collection that we'd like to do would happen before the school's opening. In term when I was talking about doing surveys and what types of programs are you interested in, things like that, so that we can sort of work collaboratively to see if that we can have any of those programs be at the new school once it opens. Donna, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, the Office of New Schools will work really closely with Dr. Tu and the staff of the Queens North. And the idea is to have parents and stakeholders from the community on the design team of the high school so that we can have the programming. I heard the AP courses. I know there's a lot of work being done around the city about the portrait of a graduate, so that we can have exactly what everyone wants in the community. I mean, we can't have every single thing in a 600-seat high school, but certainly we can target, the needs and the wants of the community. So the idea is to get everyone at the table so parents can be on the design team. And so, and the idea is to identify early enough a leader who can work with Dr. Tu and her team and us, so that we can work with you, everyone sort of pulling the oars in the same direction, and get something going that really reflects what the community truly wants. So the idea is for us all to be together and plan.
Yeah, and just so the College Point Collaborative was designed and organized with kids. It became CPC because students had their voice in what they wanted that school to really embody. So then Superintendent Domingo engaged the community inside of that space, including kids, which is why it's named what it is, and what kind of the vision around the school came from was because of the community impact input, including our kids. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? I know we had somebody from College Point Collaborative. Do you have any thoughts?
No, I was part of this meeting with this one, and it was just amazing to hear what our kids are really excited about. What is protection? So, just being close to home and being safe in the community.
I do kind of have a question. I'm not sure if I missed this earlier. So would this school opening address some of the overutilization that's currently happening in the other 5 high schools that were brought up? Like, would students in those schools be able to transfer over to this one, or is it just going to be 9th grade, like incoming 9th graders?
Good question.
So typically, and ladies, tell me if I'm not correct here, but typically new schools start with the entry grade, and then they build up over time. I don't know if that would be a different scenario here, but typically that's what it is. That would be true for this case as well. They begin with 9th grade and then build up.
Yeah, so likely this would phase in and would be at scale in 2031, 2032, if I am doing that math right? 2030, 2031?
So it wouldn't affect the numbers now, but it would affect the numbers at
Over
that
the course of time, that new batch of 9th graders, then 10th graders, and 11th graders. And over time, will hopefully account for, provided that it's at full capacity, 600 children that would be able to to do their learning. Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Would that accept transfer students too? Let's say, for example, they're currently in a freshman and it's opening 2027. Let's say they go to Bayside, but they want to transfer to this new high school. Will that be doable as well? Or,
So I do believe that there are opportunities for that. Dr. Tu or Mr. Stifler, if you're there, just to talk about like the transfer space of kids. I do know that when they get into 10th grade, I think they do have that option. But would certainly phone a friend closer to the high school space than than me. If they're still on, then certainly love to hear their feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, good evening, Dr. Huatu, Superintendent, co-tenant of the building. We wish you were there. I wish I knew I wouldn't have come to the PEP and stayed and joined you in person. A fantastic question. I think Donna did a fantastic job to say, at the city, we have over 26 years of experience building and collaborating with community and developing new schools. So we're really excited to work with you, College Point community, for this brand new school without a name because you and the student will be naming it, as Dr. Mike said. In terms of transfer, so if we open in September of 2027, it will be the freshman class, so only ninth grade student. Then the school year of 2028, 2029 with a 10th grade cohort, any student wanting to transfer into that 10th grade will be eligible. But not in 2027 when we only have a ninth grade cohort. If I understood your question correctly, that would be how it
You were
works.
spot on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
So are we also offering programs that are occupational oriented or career oriented by any chance?
So because the school isn't designed yet, it's not open, we can't say right at this moment that yes, there's going to be an HVAC program at the school, right? We want to hear from the community what types of programs you want. So if those career ready programs or the types of programs you want, that's the feedback that we need to hear when we do these engagements so that we know that that's what the community is looking for. And then we can look for a school leader to help to build that type of program. And, and it could be different. What type of a career readiness program do you want? Is it HVAC? Is it nursing? Is it, electrical? There could be a lot of different sort of career ready programs. So we would really look to you all as a community to let us know what type.
And if I may, we were at 185 that morning as well and talked to about 8 or 10 eighth grade students who were really very articulate on that very point about having some kind of industry connection. And when Max and I were out there between the two school visits, we just couldn't help but notice there's a lot of industry nearby that we could really partner with. So this business of really collaborating with the community, under, Dr. Tu's leadership with the person we're going to bring in at some point who's going to be the leader of this school to really reach out and establish those kinds of connections. That's the idea. The idea is to do something that is robust, really, grounded in the community and grounded in the needs of the students who want to go there. So yes, we can look at all of this.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you for being here tonight to speak to the council. And I look forward to speaking with you guys again soon as we continue planning.
Thank you so much. And we can just drop our contact information in the chat as well.
Yeah, if you could do that for everyone, and then if anyone else has any other questions that come up, you can send them to me, Dr. Mike, we can get them over as well if not.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Emily.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening.
Okay, so now we have our AI presentation. I'm going to call up Mary.
Good evening, everyone. So maybe
Hi, Mary.
I'll be over here. So I brought folders for no, you're good. I brought folders for everyone so that you can have some handouts of some of the materials we use. So I'll introduce myself first. I'm Mary Vaquero, the Vice President for Education for the United Federation of Teachers. But I wear a number of hats. So I'm also responsible for the Teacher Center. I'm the Executive Director of the Teacher Center. And I currently am running the $23.9 million grant that we have for AI. So we have some really exciting stuff going on, and I'm proud to say that many of the schools in 25, so I want to thank your president for inviting me here, they're working with this. In particular, 185, which is going to be our pilot school for a lot of this work. And I just want to be clear on what that means, because most of you in here as parents will never know the work that's going on, because none of the work that we're doing is student-facing. We strongly believe at the AI Academy that teachers are not well versed enough in AI, that they should not be using it in the classroom until they really understand it and they're able to do that work on their own. We learned a lot of this when we had to quickly learn about Zoom through COVID, and we had to learn a lot about remote learning and all those pieces, teachers weren't adept. They didn't have the background knowledge in order to do that work, and we were learning on the fly. At the Teacher Center, which has a 46-year history, we strongly do, and part of our mission is that nothing should be you're building the plane as you're flying. So that everyone should be really understanding that work. That's why we don't allow turnkey for any teacher that just learned something. So you go to a workshop and next week you turnkey it. That's not permitted in our program. The same principles will apply to the AI Academy. And what I'm proud to tell you is that most of your schools, if not all of the schools in 25, have at point sent someone to one of our workshops so that they're learning something about what we're teaching here. And what's interesting about that is a number of your schools in this district, and I can give Dr. Mike the exact schools, a number of your schools will be participating in summer programs where teachers will be going Boston, Baltimore, Orlando, San Diego. People want better places than I've been sending them to, Detroit, Minneapolis. They're going to be participating with teachers from around the country in order to really understand the work that we're doing. So, with that little background, the AFT has come up with safeguards that we believe are fundamental to any AI instruction. So really making sure it's FERPA approved and all of the other things, and I'm sure with this group you all know all those things, I don't have to go through them, but all of those are before any AI is using. We're working with the engineers of Microsoft, ChatGPT, and Anthropic. They come to the UFT office, which now has a separate space on the mezzanine of 50 building that is only for AI studies. And they come and the engineers are meeting with groups of teachers after school to understand how to better develop products for teachers in their classrooms. And what I mean by that is lesson development, understanding where to look for things for research, knowing where to look for ideas in order to support children with disabilities, all of those type of things. There's a few like cutesy things that they've taught them about, like making songs and poems and all that kind of stuff. But the major work is how to reduce the workload for teachers, and this is like the antithesis of what people are talking about when they talk about AI, how to reduce the workload for teachers so there can be more human contact in the classroom. So that teachers, speak of the devil, my daughter-in-law watching, is that why she's here? She's one of your teachers, I think she's, she said speak louder. So that teachers can actually be working with their students in a more effective way and really be getting to know their student and not worrying about all of the things that teachers have to do behind the scenes for data collection, how to develop a lesson and how to look up things, to reduce all of that. So that's our goal at this point, and that's what the engineers of Microsoft, Anthropic, and ChatGPT are working on with us. They're also working with us on how do we think about once this becomes part of our classroom routine. What will that look like when we use? How do we think about how to save intellectual property, how we're going to work with how students are going to use their thought process in order to really be critical thinkers and not use the new term, which is cognitive downloading, not worrying about that piece, or in some cases it's cognitive uploading really is what I would like to say, instead of cognitive downloading so that they don't have to think and they get the information from the web instead of actually critically thinking on their own. And so we're trying to change that thought process. We also are a proponent of, and this is aside from the academy, this is the official position of our national union and our local union, is no screens, no online testing, K-2. Now that's in opposition to many of the things that are going on in the Department of Ed, but that's what we're pushing for, a national ban on any screens, any kind of this type of work, once it gets out to children to being with K-2. So that's like the overall big arching picture. But so why did we pick 185? Principal Lou Young contacted us. He attends a lot of our workshops, so you should be very proud of him, Dr. Mike. He attends, give him a highly effective, attends a lot of our workshops. And what we wanted to really do is look at how a large school, especially a middle school, how they use this information and how the teachers then respond to the work being reduced for them. And so that school already has teams set up on every grade level. They already have by ENL, by special ed, all of the things that are in good practice in schools. So what we ask them to do is really take a look at this, come to training. So they're sending 10 teachers at a time. Many of those teachers are doing that on Saturdays and Sundays at our workshops, but some are coming during the week and they're being released from school to do that. And we're going to be working with them really, we're going to be really invested in seeing what happens to a school culture once we change that. After probably about November of next year, we're going to be asking more schools to join on. We're calling it a pilot, but it's really, we're going to supply all the support. We're also going to supply all the instruction. And our partners at Apple will make sure our devices are working properly. Our partners with Microsoft will make sure bandwidth and all of that stuff, if we have to add into the school. Anthropic and ChatGPT will be looking at how to train the AI in those schools in order to support the teachers of whatever their needs are. Because every school is going to look a little different, right? Just as you learn, like College Point Collaborative, maybe if it becomes a CTE type school, we would your school, like into the high school, we would focus on your school to say, what could we do in order to support the children that are now moving into that high school, and what are some of the background pieces they would need for their AI. But again, like, I know that parents are filling out right now, because there is until May 8th to respond to the Department of Ed of what that looks like, of what their AI policy is. We are not focused on anything student-facing, and we're being very, very clear about that. We don't think that teachers are ready for that yet. And yeah, there's going to be some playing around again. There's like little song things we've been playing with. They put in some words of things they're doing. Little different than really using it for research and stuff. So that's our overall view. Questions? Questions?
Yeah, I say this with all due respect. I'm not going to come off great. I'm increasingly getting exhausted with the mounting pile of evidence of how destructive these technologies are, especially through OpenAI and Anthropic. There's mountains of evidence of like misinformation, just cognitive damage to students, like people not second guessing information coming out of this. And I haven't heard a single reason, especially outside of the chancellor, I've been 2 meetings with them, for a reason why we need this technology besides it's here. And I'm becoming increasingly exhausted that's the only answer we get, is that the technology's here, we have to use it. That's not like, and again, I say with all due respect, no, like, I have yet to see a reasonable answer as to why we need this technology in front of our teachers. Like every single day, there's more and more studies about how destructive this technology is, how harmful it is. And I'm, like, when I hear you say, "Oh, we're doing cute things with little songs," that's like dystopian to me.
Well, wait,
because
wait.
of what
That's what
those
I'm
mean.
saying. That would be the only thing that would be like everything else will not be in front of.
Oh, no, I hear that. But when I hear you say that you're putting AI music in front of students and that's like a good thing, as a creative who's married to a creative, who knows creatives whose industries are being demolished by these companies, hearing that as a cutesy fun thing to put in the classroom, that doesn't sound exciting, that sounds dystopian.
I don't disagree with you.
So
and I wouldn't be doing it in my classroom.
So
I'm just telling you that that's what.
I hear that, but why are we doing this? I would love a reason as to why.
Well, we're doing it at the AFT and the UFT. We're doing it so that we can control the technology before it controls us. Social media is controlling our teachers, and we don't want that to happen. Screen time in classrooms is controlling our teachers. We know that the cell phone ban, we see the increased learning that's going on, but think about how long that was. And for a long time, even the Department of Education, and I say this with respect to the Department of Ed, they were saying it's great. If a kid has a cell phone, they can use a QR code in the classroom. And we were saying no, but we had no control over that. What we're trying to do is control the narrative and make sure that the companies that are working with us work with us in a more functional way.
And I agree with you that teachers need to understand this technology. It is everywhere. And like I think on that part we're in base agreement.
Yeah.
But when you're describing we're taking steps towards it being implemented in our schools. We're doing a pilot with 185. That's putting it in a school. That's not getting teachers informed and knowledge. That's implementation, even at a teaching forward version.
Wait, not for the students.
But I still think, I don't, like, to be honest, for my child's teacher using ChatGPT to work on stuff is something, I'm trying to not say pissed off, but would piss me off.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's been no reason as to why this needs to be implemented. Education, essential. Like, trainings, absolutely, it is everywhere. But the implementation portion, the only answer I keep hearing is, because it's here, because we want to get ahead of it. The one the DOE gave up, it's an equity issue, which broke my brain. Again, and I understand what your mission is, I just don't understand why why it's in.
So, Mr. Kim, part of the piece that I would say to you is that teachers are using it now, right? And your point is well taken, and I represent the teachers, so I'm being careful with what I say here. Some of them are not using it properly. And what we're saying is, if you don't know how to use it, don't use it. I hear what you're saying about it shouldn't be used at all, but we would rather proper implementation than for there to be other ways that it's being used out there. And we also want to make sure that private information is not shared. So if teachers are getting ideas, they shouldn't be writing Mary Vaccaro in my class. We are dead against that, even with the FERPA approved, no names of students, no names of class, and no names of schools. We're even like showing them not to use any of that information. You go onto ChatGPT, at times you can put in, and I've done it, you could put in a specific school and you can find what other people were researching about that school, right? You can find, you can find a paper that a student has written from that school because they put in that information. We're trying to make sure we clean up that kind of stuff in order to do it. We're not gonna resolve that. I'm not gonna resolve that doing, right now, we did 20,000 teachers this year across 5 states. We're not gonna resolve that. The goal is within the next 5 years. I'm not even talking about paras, social workers, just teachers. Our goal is to hit 400,000 teachers within the next 5 years. So we know that we'll do that, but I think we're in agreement with what you just said is it shouldn't be leading the instruction, it should just be part of the instruction and not in front of the students.
I actually don't think it should be part of the instruction in any way, shape, or form, especially given, and I don't want to like just be a back and forth and waste everybody's time. But like, I agree with you on like 90% of what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's that extra step of, well, it should be in the building. It's gonna be in the building. That is where I draw, especially again, and honestly, like, people were talking about it as if there were gonna be models that were like part of the DOE. ChatGPT is riddled with hallucinations, with misinformation. And that will inevitably, our teachers are wonderful. Like you said, there are people using it improperly now. There are going to be people not checking the data, not checking whether or not these are errors in the stuff.
Right.
And that choosing to put a thing in front of our teachers to use for our children that we know some will not check to make sure they're giving false information is actively harmful. And that honestly scares me. That the overwhelming thing is we're excited for this. And I'm like, why? What is exciting about it and what is actually helpful? And short of it makes people's work easier, we can have arguments whether or not that's accurate. But like, again, I don't want to just argue and waste your time. I really appreciate you taking the time. But like, we keep hitting this wall where no one gives a real reason about how it is beneficial in the end to our students to have this technology in the building. There's tons of technology that people should understand that we don't choose to implement with enthusiasm. And that's why I'm like so frustrated. And you can see me getting worked up in a way I normally don't. Because there is no evidence that this will help our students. There is no evidence that this is beneficial. There is mountains of evidence that it will hurt our students. And I find it gross that we're just throwing this in here. Anyway, that's...
I appreciate that, thank you.
I just want to jump in and ask, like, so a lot of the issues with AI is that there is misinformation, there are hallucinations, whatever. That comes from the data, right? So you're saying that Microsoft, Anthropic, OpenAI, they're working with you guys to implement this stuff. But where is the data that these companies are using coming from? Like, is this going to be, if we're saying that this is going to be used for lesson development, is that information that it's using coming from like curriculum?
It's coming from the curriculums that are being uploaded, and then the AI is being trained in order to do that. And then that's why we're working with teachers now on understanding like what's wrong, what's not. And there has to be a cognitive piece to that. It can't just be, to your point, we agree with you at the academy, you can't just accept what you're having there. And that's part of the piece. And that's why we're doing this as teams, not just one teacher working alone.
So it's not like this is just general information that's available on the web and we're just expecting it to be accurate.
That's correct.
So we're trying to avoid some of that misinformation, some of those hallucinations by controlling the data that these LLMs are using to provide information to teachers.
That's correct.
Does that help a little bit with some of that concern? If the concern is the misinformation and the hallucinations and let's not get into the environmental impact on that. Does that help at all?
Can I just say, it's my understanding that when we're talking about generative AI in particular, everything that it spits out is technically a hallucination, because what its function is to generate, right? It's to like, you want a text, here's a text, and it is pulling from things that have existed, but it's making you a big.
But we're focused
So it's,
on the
its
curriculum
nature
approach.
Yeah.
is to.
And I think the relationship to curriculum and, you know, being an educator for 28 years, when you're looking to make sure that you're making a real smart choice within the context of where in my curriculum, I know that Mike needs a specific scaffold. What's my scaffold that I can use that's really going to give entry into a piece of text that's within a curriculum-based scenario, rather than having to look at resource after resource after resource within a given curriculum for a tool to be able to point me into a space and says that this is a resource that you might want to use for a child that's struggling with X, that's curriculum-based. I do think there are efficiencies there that are worth engaging in that conversation to make sure that we're pinpointing something. If I'm struggling in something connected to phonics, and I'm engaging in a piece of text that's from this particular curriculum, and I can have myself point out certain elements within that particular text that I might want to cue in on, it gives me an opportunity to do that in a more efficient way than reading through each of those pieces of text to find that specific thing when the program can bring me right to it and allow me to make a decision that's much more efficient, allowing me to make other decisions about other kids in my classroom. So when it's curriculum based, which a lot of these entry points are really intended to do, is about lifting the resources that are part of that program to then give me easier access to it. That's the way that I see a lot of these things. But I completely understand the concerns that you're sharing and why you're concerned about it. And I think you should continue to voice those concerns. You know, I think it's important that through that dialogue, you're able to come up with a space that makes sense. Obviously, right now, you might not feel that way, right? But I think there are entry points that I do think would be valuable for an educator when they're organizing their plans to support their instruction.
And
I
I
do
think
think
it's
that there
also
is a place
important
for
to
that.
say, we will never, ever, no matter how long we do this and we keep this going, we don't believe it should be any evaluation for students, meaning uploading essays, checking, whatever.
Yeah.
We are dead against that of any form at all, and that's part of our safeguard in our document. So, because that's a question that parents have been asking across the country when I go, well, will teachers just be uploading essays and then the AI, we are dead against that. That's a human-to-human piece, you know.
Will the training sources be publicly available? Because OpenAI has been caught lying, so has Anthropic.
Well, they're not developing any of the training.
But those are the people you are working with?
No, they're coming to learn how to fix what they have. They are
So-
not giving any training. We at the U of T Teacher Center do not allow outside vendors, and we will not hire outside vendors in order to do something. So it's going to be, even though it's a national program, it is going to be New York City teachers that are adept in technology. We've spent 1 year with them. They have been learning everything there is to learn about AI in many, many forms, and we're agnostic. So even though Microsoft, OpenAI, and Anthropic are spending the money, we are agnostic and we're using other AI forms in order to do that.
Will those sources still be available? Sorry, Julie. Like, is it possible for if people wanted to find out what the sources of the training data is, will that be made available?
It's going to be the curriculum that New York City Department of Education offers.
So I see here's the frustration. So my question is, just curiosity again. So teachers are getting trained for this, and as a parent, we're a little frustrated because we don't know what they're getting trained on exactly. So how come there can't be any parents representative and how? Is there any way that we could find out?
2 weeks ago, we had 250 parents attend our AI training at the UFT. It's through the parent coordinator of each borough, so Delcy Rodriguez invites parents to the parent leadership piece, and we've had 250 parents, and that parent piece is going to continue.
And they get to see what?
They get the same exact training.
Training, so they know what they're getting trained on, teachers.
Nothing is hidden.
So,
everything is covered.
I know we had some stuff in the chat, Dr. Mike, I don't know if you
I
want
think most of it is just an agreement with,
Just agreement?
with, you
Okay.
know, with Stephen, Stephen's perspective. And then just around accountability measures, it's, similar kind of context, was kind of echoing what it is that you shared. Not as much a question, it seems, as much as it is agreement with where, the context.
So thanks for sharing, Mary. So you mentioned about you working with Microsoft and the other firms, the big corporations. Do you have their financial interest they must be financial interest when developing, this because they're not for-profit company.
They gave
My
us,
question is,
they gave us 23.9 million, that's public. There was a press conference, I spoke at it.
Yeah.
They gave us 23.9 million, there are no strings, and all I have to do is have their engineers listen to teachers, but they do not participate in our workshops.
Okay. So do you have any third party, like independent third parties who work with you guys, as the advisors with the roles like Microsoft?
No, we have an independent third party that's evaluating our work, but we do not work with a third party to develop the workshops. But we have an evaluation, as we do for any grant-based program, that you need to have an independent evaluator evaluate the work that you're doing.
Anybody else from the council want to chime in?
Am I understanding correctly that the data that is being used, like all this is essentially it's sandbox, it's air gapped from general, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, and it's only using data and curriculum that is provided by DOE? And so essentially this is really more like a chatbot that is answering based on the data that the DOE is providing them. So it's kind of just like
the DOE is providing the curriculum. Well, the DOE has enforced the curriculum. The UFT is buying the curriculum because the DOE does not have AI rights to everything. So a lot of money we're spending right now is about buying curriculum so that we can upload it so that we have the rights to do that. So the answer is yes and no. So remember, we're working with all 50 states across the country. We are moving with all 50 states. Not all the curriculum is exactly the same. So what we're using right now is the basis of what the Department of Ed is using. Eventually that will be different because HMH is not being used around the rest of the country. Wit and Wisdom is not seen as culturally responsive. So we can't use that in certain places across the country. So depending on where we are, we're gonna have to use those as models, and then it's gonna become best practices.
Okay, and I guess the way it kind of is being presented makes it sound like this is just going to be like a really advanced search where teachers are going in and asking, a question or asking for help to plan something or ideas on how to implement whatever. It sounds like it's being presented as like a super advanced search function, but is that all it's going to be used for? Is there ever anything else? Like somebody was asking what accountability measures we put in place to make sure AI isn't going to be used in assessments or grading. Like, is it really only just going to be used as a super search function?
Yes.
But how is it creating, and not to be like a gotcha, sorry, how is it creating music if it's just a searchable database of curriculum?
No, that they use that as an example to teach teachers that was just an example.
Okay, because I was like, if that's in there, then it's not.
It's not in there.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
We use it because teachers are saying, like, show me a quick, cute thing of how, like, what does this look like? Remember, they spend 10 days with us over the course of learning all of this. So when teachers come first, they're like, what could I do tomorrow? That's the one thing that teachers in New York City always want. They want something tangible that they can use in their classroom tomorrow. We're saying this is not exactly that, because you really have to learn how to use the functions in order to do it in your classroom. So we show them, like, this is like a quick, and I hear what you're saying. This would not be used in my classroom, but this is a quick piece of what you can do in your class. Look what you can do. In 5 seconds, you can find this. We're trying to show them these are the real stuff. We are very clear on not for evaluation, not for grading, and not for any determination of where a student is. We are clear cut on that. That is a human to human, even though I think we have to think of something better than saying human to human, but that is a person to person piece that we will not budge on.
And that's one of those elements that is part of the traffic light kind of scenario. The whole grading part of it is identifiable as the kind of the red light space. Inside of that in the current framework, which was shared with everyone a couple of times. But still, questions still can come from any of those things, right? That's the reality of this, is that there will be additional questions that could be raised as you go through, and I think it's important that we raise them as they come to you. I think that's how things get adopted or not, or changed or not, and I think it's through that kind of dialogue that will allow for a truly productive model and set of guidelines for those to follow. So yeah.
Is it just kind of like an honor system where the teachers are saying that they're not going to put an essay or ask it to help grade or anything, or is it actually going to be like disabled functionality if they were to put it in there and it just
What
doesn't
we're
get
working with our partners is we want them to disable that functionality. Right now, we do not have that there, but we're not even talking about that. We're telling them we're dead against it, and they have to sign an agreement when they take their program with us that they're not going to use it. Does it mean that, you're right, does it mean that somebody couldn't? Of course they could. They could do that right now without coming to us. But we are very, very strong about that. There'll be a speech at the National Press in Washington, D.C. that we'll be giving in another 2 weeks, and we're going to be very strong on that piece.
And is there anything that these partners are in the process of implementing where they would be able to flag if somebody were to try to ask for input on grading?
At this point, there is no login system that is controlled, that they're not able to do that, but that is like one of the pieces that we want the engineers to work on, so that municipalities, based on the law of their state or their city or their municipality, they would be able to log in and you would be following the rules of your municipality.
So it sounds like it might be a little premature to be piloting this before these guardrails are in place.
The guardrails are in place for us, so anyone that's working with us, that they're gonna log into a system with us and we're not gonna permit it. That's not to say they couldn't go on OpenAI right now and do it on their own.
So, just something that so one of the things that's come up, not even in our district, in general, that I've heard at certain meetings, is teachers are taking people's work and submitting it into, let's say, like, something where they're able to say, was this written by AI? Where does that come into this piece?
We're not doing any of that, but that already exists in all the high schools and in the colleges.
I mean, middle school's even doing it right now, so I know
that's part of Blackboard, that's part of a lot of the learning management systems already. Like, I know my son just graduated with his master's, and I know he was like panicking because 8% of his paper they said was plagiarized, but it was quotes, right? So it said you had 8%, and that professor only allowed 7. So you had to go back and take out some quotes and rework it, right? Because the system automatically said what was going on.
Thank goodness they did not have that with my dissertation, because I don't know if we would have only been 8% of quotes.
I know we've had a lot of questions. I want to see, does anybody else have any questions? Anything? No?
I have a question.
Go for it, Grace.
So we are conducting this pilot to teach teachers to take advantage of the technology, right? But are we having in mind the need to set up something like a policy or a protocol to prevent the risk that children are facing with this technology? So we have that in mind, that we need to, at the same time, to take advantage of the technology for the teachers, but also set up that policy to prevent our children to get harmful from the impact of the technology.
That would be more Dr. Mike, because we're not doing any of the children facing.
Yeah, so there has been, part of the reason for this 45-day kind of window is also then becoming around those conversations that we do need to have with kids. And kids across all grade levels and access points and entry points, and conversations with families for that matter. We have some that are clearly very educated around, what OpenAI can or cannot, can do, and other families that just don't have any knowledge necessarily about it. So I do think that there is a lot of work that we do need to also do with our families to make sure that we do have some safeguards for our children, and that we're making real smart choices. And I think, you know, a big part of the framework is about being critical consumers of the things that we have in front of us. None of us can be in front of every child at every moment and the choices that they make with the resources that are available to them. And we've said while the phones are put away in school, they still have access to them after they leave and have access to the ability to utilize them either in a productive way or not so much. So there is a lot of ongoing conversation that does need to be had with our kids, with our families, certainly with our staff, to make sure that we're utilizing the things that we have around us in real productive ways. There are not necessarily ways for me to know whether or not, unless I'm pulling someone's plan and filtering it through where it is that they got it from, unless, you know, that's just the reality. I wouldn't be able to necessarily know if Angela then put that inside of her system, you know, and that without really digging deeply into knowing Angela's plan. So I think it's important that we just learn and grow through this type of work.
I think Dr. Mike is 100. I just want to jump on that. Teacher can develop a plan with AI, right? But if they can't implement it in the classroom, I could have the best written plan for them. We can support them with that, but if they're not able to implement it, AI is not going to help them. So when they're standing in front of those students and they're supporting their students, you have to be a great teacher, right? Like, we can write it up. I can show them on AI how to write these great things with HMH and incorporate phonics and do. But if they're standing in front of the classroom and Dr. Mike walks in and they don't know their students and they're not able to do it, it's meaningless. So that's the work that we're trying to reduce. We want them to find it, as we were saying, but we want them to really learn the implementation, and that's the part of the teacher-centered part. That's why Randy and Michael asked me to do this, so that teacher-centered part was like, great, you found your plans. Now let's make sure we support the teachers on the implementation in order to do that work.
Yeah, but I think in general, if the question is the safeguards, I think it's going to be an ongoing process of educating our young learners around what it means to utilize resources. You know, prior to the idea of AI was around how are we making sure that we're choosing reliable resources in Google alone. You know, from choosing the right site to the one that gave you misinformation, which by the way still exists, AI or not. That exists in Google. We've had access to it for a really long time, and kids do access information that is also inaccurate, also filled with biases, also that is unfiltered, and they still have access to use. So it's about making sure that we can continue to educate our kids on how do we make sure that we utilize the things that are out there in front of them with intent, purpose, and understanding of what is available to them. That makes sense.
And I kind of end with this, that if you haven't read The Anxious Generation, if you haven't done that work, I'm happy to give everyone a copy of the book. We met with Jonathan last night with Goldie, because you know Goldie Hawn Foundation is doing some work in your district, and we met and we were really talking about it. And one thing that he added was, this is all great and good, and I think you'll enjoy this. It was great and good, but kids are on screens. Kids are doing this, so the one piece that he gave us that will stick with me forever, being a boy mom, is that 25 years ago, the average number of boys, of all the boys in the United States, 38% of them broke a bone at one point in between 0 and 15 years old. That number is down to 2% at this moment in time, because kids are on their screens, kids are not, I don't want them to break their bones, but they're on their screens, they're not outside. That changed a lot of perspective for us last night when we were having these conversations, and a number of our teachers were sitting there about the importance. And then when I heard her talking about recess, I was like, well, there you have it, no recess.
Yeah, I know.
It's just you running around, but you know, so we're carefully walking these waters as they happen right now. So
sorry, one last question. Is anything being implemented to determine or evaluate the efficacy of teachers using AI, or is this just being like teachers self-reporting?
No, we have a third party that we're using now, and they'll be evaluating us, and we'll be getting an evaluation. The first one will come out, I think, in June, and then after that, we'll be getting them regularly.
And are like those metrics or the parameters that you're evaluating on, are those available for?
Yep, they'll be on the web. They'll, just like our Teacher Center, they'll be available on all of our websites.
And Can you share the websites or where?
You're gonna have it all, the National AI Academy.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna give everybody a folder.
Can the parents who are attending virtually also get that information, or is it just gonna be us? Like, it's all right, I know.
I plan for virtually, but, yeah, I could send it in and it could go out, yeah.
I have one question. Are there currently any limitations to teachers using AI in the classrooms?
So say more, Ben, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. Can any of my teachers use ChatGPT if they want?
So right now, there's nothing that would say that a resource, because it's accessible, can someone do that? If the question is can, the answer is yes, someone can. And I think that's the real importance about this work being put out there now, and that we're starting to have these conversations around what's beneficial and what's not, because there are realities to that.
I see the prevalence of AI every single day in our school, especially from sophomore year, junior year, to senior year. I see AI in our classrooms every single day. I just want to.
On the teacher front?
Yes.
Oh, because the DOE said in the meeting about the stoplight that it is not allowed to be used in schools until it's fully processed. So that alone is kind of scary.
Well, maybe not.
Well, it said in any way.
Anyway.
They said in the meeting with the chancellor, they said any way AI should not be used in the schools until everything is set up. But thanks, I'm not gonna. I was just gonna say.
So I'm gonna chime in for a second. I know everyone's got a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions on this, but I do want to kind of wrap up this segment because we do have a lot, and I know Barry has somewhere else to go as well tonight.
You can get me out of the pet, I'll stay here all night.
It's gonna be going for a while. They're still going, I've been getting messages. So I do want to be mindful of her time as well.
But I just want to throw this out here. We're happy to do a workshop for the parents in District 25, if that's what you would so like.
Sure.
We're happy to do that. Know what we're giving, but that's going to be what happens. And we're always happy to do it with the teachers here and bring it to you. So if I can bring it to Orlando next week, I can definitely bring it to Flushing, so we're happy to do that.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Good luck going over there.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
They have an AI academy.
Allocate some of that 29.2.
Okay. So we're running a
I
little
will
later
go
on
fast,
time.
don't worry.
So I'm gonna give the floor to Dr. Wright,
I will go fast, I promise.
and I'm gonna try to keep him to his time
Yes,
tonight.
no, I will go fast, I will go fast.
As fast as possible.
The couple of interactive things that I have.
It's okay.
The couple of interactive things, no, but I think you should.
It was a very
Stephen,
productive
that's
and
why you're-
important conversation,
That's why
so.
you're here as part of the CEC, to be able to communicate the things that you think are important. And, that's why you guys are here, to ask those important questions. It's not to be sitting here and idle and say that, that's important to me, but not communicate it. So, I appreciate that you share your thoughts. I think that's I do honestly believe that's how we grow. We improve when we're able to engage in dialogue. Not every side of every scenario are we gonna necessarily agree wholeheartedly on. Not emails.
Not emails.
Hold
We
on.
already read that.
Not emails, I read that one already. We're not always gonna be in the space of agreement on any given topic, but if we don't talk about things, then how do we improve? So.
Our conversations have to happen.
Okay. All right, so this I am not gonna do, but connection before content, if you could, what job would you like to try for a day? I will quickly share mine. Being that I'm a huge sports fan, and the Knicks are playing right now, if you could put me in a space where I can call one of those games next to Walt Clyde Frazier, I am all in, all over that. If you have one you want to share after I get quickly done through this one, feel free. But just for interest of time, I know that we might be a little bit behind now. So May has a tremendously large number of things to celebrate, and what I'm learning is that don't miss any of them. Right? Don't miss any of them. But it does get a little bit overwhelming when you start thinking about how many things get celebrated, throughout every month. But this is Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian Pacific Islanders Month. May also brings in Military Appreciation Month. These are all times to celebrate the important folks that have been past, present, that are some very close to us, maybe some that, that we have made an impact on us just based on what they would be able to, their connections historically. So big shout out to those particular groups. Friday was National Principal Appreciation Day. What I said to our principals, I said to them, and I will say here, I couldn't be any more grateful for the people that we have serving our kids in our schools. In my, what is a biased opinion, we have the best principals in New York City that are supporting our kids every day. So I'm very grateful for them. This one I did not know. It was School Lunch Superhero Day.
I didn't know that.
Did not know that. But throwing that out on May 1st for all of our folks that are supporting school lunch for our kids, big shout out to you. Saturday was Wellness Day. So super thankful for you as a CEC. We had a number of our members from the CEC that were able to be present and support. Speaking with Stephen earlier, he said that he talked from the time that he started to the time we finished at around 12:30. We had over 400 participants for the day. It was really fantastic. Grace had a whole set up with a little spinning wheel to do a whole variety of different activities. Angela was there also chatting it up. Eden joined us. So big thanks to you guys. Shirley, we had Mr. Met was present, which is always a big hit. But huge thanks to Diana Stein from our team, Wing Yi Chung from our team. They did an amazing job of organizing what was just a fantastic event. We had so many vendors there, from our hospitals to those that are supporting around mental health needs, things in the physical therapy areas. We had local communities, partners and organizations that donated things to the event. It was just really, really a great experience. I have to tell you, I was a little panicked when it hit 10 o'clock and I only saw a handful of people there, but they all filed in. It was really an amazing event. We have one of our members from our district community also here that volunteered. It was just really, really nice. And what really was a capper for me, we had one of our soapbox speeches present, and he did a fantastic job yet again, talking about the importance of kindness and its relationship to this event. He had all of the audience really cued in listening to what he had to say. So that's our little pal TJ. You can see him there in the image. And he wound up winning a raffle at the end of it all, which was really, really cute and completely appropriate. But this was a really great event, and I thank you guys for being part of it with us. We also have Cinco de Mayo that just passed for those that celebrated. It was also Happy Korean Children's Day as well for our community members that celebrated. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week is all week this week. Huge shout out to our folks for what they do every day for our kids. We are very fortunate, much like our building leaders, to have amazing teachers here in District 25. It's also Happy National School Nurse Day. If I did not include this one in there, my wife would probably be a little bit annoyed with me. She is a nurse at Sloan. So big shout out to my wife for the work that she does to serve all of the patients that she has. Say again? No, she was not, unfortunately. She was not. Just my son, yeah. But this Sunday, is Mother's Day. So big shout out to all of our moms or our mother figures that are either with us or not. But this is just an opportunity just to give thanks for my mom, who is honestly one of these people that does everything for everyone else and thinks of herself usually last. And I think I can say that for most of the people that you probably have in your mindset, whether it's mom or a mother figure, keeping dear to our hearts those that really ensure that we were able to be have a positive future. And my mom is so instrumental in that for me. So I don't know that she's going to hear this, but big shout out to mom for all of the things that she's done for me as her son. So big shout out to all of our moms. District 25, so I'm hoping that you get a kick out of this. I am going to show it because it is part of our work for Safer College. So Monday kicked off For those of you that are Star Wars fans, may the 4th be with you. So we took a little bit of a play on those words and tried to talk about it through, if you are Star Wars fans, The Force Awakens was one of the latest iterations of the Star Wars episodes. And we, instead of Force Awakens, we called it A Fund Awakens. So connecting it to the idea of parents being able to really open up those accounts. So we made this little video, and let me just reshare with sound so that you can hear it. We made this little video so that we can encourage the idea. Again, it is a parent's choice, but we do want to make sure that we're getting this out there for all of our families. We did create this to have a little bit of fun. That's not the best part of the video, by the way. Oh, and the volume's not going. Oh, no. Why is
Learn through 4th graders around the Safer College program. With May the 4th on the horizon and our love for Star Wars, Grogu and I have a message for all of our families and our kindergarten through 4th graders around the Safer College program. Greetings, families. And Grogu, how are you today? I'm joining you today from Linden Place as we launch District 25 of Future Fund Awakens.
This is madness.
As a parent of a 9th and 11th grade learner, I know too well of the importance of planning forward to support the success of my children. Creating a clear path for their success comes with the thinking about the financial needs to support college and career.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Safer College program is a great opportunity to start the saving process, as students with a college saving account are 3 times more likely to attend college and 4 times more likely to graduate.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Like the Force in Star Wars, we can help build the roots of success for our learners by activating your account. Join today and awaken the opportunities for your child's college and career pathway.
The Force will be with you, always.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in space.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
See you, Grogu. Bye, district community. Let's get those accounts activated.
So all of the cutting and splicing is all Lewis. He does a great job of pulling little clips to make this something hopefully that'll connect with kids, connect with families. In the end, as I said to you guys in the past, this is always a parent's choice, but we want to make sure that it's accessible to everyone. The goal is to get to 80% of our 4th graders. We have about 32% to go. That's an awfully long way. It's $180,000 still on the table. It's now down to $178,000. So we have had some activations over the first few days of this, which is great. But we want to get as many kids access as we can, because I do think there's something to be said around having a goal at an early age that we're striving towards something. We have an account that's bringing us towards a goal of getting to college or career. So more to follow on this, but I did want to share that with you guys.
That was awesome.
All right. And these are the flyers. So as part of this, we made it a little bit of a contest just to have a little bit of fun. The school with the highest percentage of activations will wind up getting a small little popsicles in the schoolyard type of scenario. Popsicles kind of serving as the lightsaber. And we'll have Austin there with his DJ equipment, and he'll play a little bit of music for kids to have a little bit of fun. So that's just kind of where we are with the Safer College. This we're really excited about. We are extending this to our entire community, so those that are interested, we've partnered with Together in Dance, as I mentioned to you guys, as part of our arts grant that we've had and that we collaborated on. We have, and by the way, I'm not going to ever sleep again apparently, because we have an event on Monday the 11th, Tuesday the 12th, Wednesday the 13th, with Together in Dance, where they're coming to one of our schools. We have PS 165, PS 22, 242, and then the last one will be at 193. There's also an event at the pre-K center as well. Together in Dance comes to our schools. They will choreograph the dance for our kids and their parents to engage in, have a little bit of fun, and grow together as a community. So that is coming next week. So if you like, please go to the events page and register. We also have celebrating as a community. We have the Sambuca tribe that's going to be going to PS 201 and 193, again to do a community-based event. And then Mexico Beyond Mariachi, so there will be music, dancing, storytelling, all opportunities for our community to take advantage of. And I encourage you to do so, because these are great organizations between Together in Dance and Arts Connection. They do great work in our schools, and it's a nice chance just to go and do something fun with your kids and also get some connections to various cultures that are prevalent within our district community that maybe perhaps you're not a part of but want to learn more about. So we do encourage that.
Oh, just really quick, sorry.
Yeah.
I know you said it, because I got asked this question a lot.
Yeah.
I just want to repeat what Dr. Mike said. These are free to our families. A lot of parents were wondering if they did have costs, and I just wanted to reiterate your point that they are free.
100%. No, we don't charge for any of these events. We just hope that people come. And then if they register, they join. Because if you register and then don't come, that means someone else can't go. So that we are hopeful that folks do take us up on it, because it's just fun to do with your kids. You have a cultural experience at the same time. So hoping to see you guys there. I will be at all of them. I don't know how much dancing I'm going to be doing, but I will be at all of them.
We'll rope you in one.
Yeah.
At least the one
So,
that's great.
New York State assessments, ELA is done. Math, we're in the final couple of days. Science testing window begins next week. And then NYSESLAT is through April and May.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What was the issue with math?
Yeah.
So that was a statewide circumstance. It's not something that was city related. It had everything to do with the platform. I don't know necessarily what they found in terms of the actual causal agent, but it was at a state level. It was not necessarily at the school.
The reason why I asked that is, like, for instance, my son, he got into the system, he was able to do day one.
Mm-hmm.
Half of his school obviously couldn't. Some of them went to paper, and some didn't test at all.
Mm-hmm.
When they finally tested them that Friday, they started with day two. But at this point, some kids had seen day one, and some kids hadn't. And now that information is shared, it almost feels like the data is then skewed, and people are not getting a fair assessment.
Yeah, no, they do have, and we can ask Barbara to come back for additional context on this, but they do have, because there is a window, they do have safeguards against this idea of sharing. Well, this was what question one was on the assessment, so they do kind of account for that. Otherwise, they wouldn't give a window. They give a 2-week window. Kids can test at any time. Yeah, kids can test at any time with, if a child's absent, they would be taking it at a following time too. So, yeah, but I mean, we can certainly ask Barbara for further clarification on how they're organized for that.
Day two and then go back
Yeah.
to day one, and it just, the whole thing was a little weird.
Yeah, no, certainly unfortunate. I know that was not certainly in the way it was drawn up. And it's something that kind of organized around afterwards. Yeah. Science testing window next week, NYSESLAT, as I mentioned. Diagnostic assessment window is from May 4th through June 12th. May is a big assessment month, guys. It just is. And into June, so we do not encourage our buildings to start doing any diagnostic screeners in iReady now. We do ask them to extend it a little bit further back into the month so that kids are not going from New York State math test right into an iReady screener again. So, but just so that everyone knows.
Assessment being 2 days after.
Yeah. Just so that everyone knows, this is the window. AI framework, I think we can go past this particular one. We spent a lot of time on that. But the window, just so that everyone knows, and the link is here. The window is May 8th, so if you haven't done so and you have some things that you'd like to share, please do so. You know, in the survey that's made available. So just two other quick things I want to share with you. These are our draft goals for next year. I'm sharing just 2 of them with you right now. A couple of the others we're still in process of organizing with our principals. But we have our reading and our math goals currently organized in draft form. What I would love, and this goes to the DLT as well, DLT will be looking at this coming Monday, just for feedback purposes. Our goal and the through line that you should see this year in our work is there's going to be a lot of common entry points to what we've done this year, but meaning making is going to be a big part of our conversation. You know, so what we've seen in our data is that our foundational skill work in our early grades, we're actually seeing improvements in our kids, which is a good thing. The balance of that, though, is now that we can make sure that we can decode these words, that we're able to read fluently across the page to start making meaning of what those words are across a text. So while we're seeing improved phonics across grade levels, we are seeing still more improvement that's needed to make sure that kids not only can make out what those words say, but ensuring that that meaning is coming along with it, so that both are growing at the same time. Not just that foundational skills grow, but that we're also growing and improving inside of the context of reading as well, and making meaning of that text. I mentioned this to you already, but I'll quickly just reiterate. The REACH program is something that we're going to be working with going into this year. It's a National Geographic product for our children that are entering and emerging across our schools. We have 16 schools that will be participating in this to really bolster the language supports for our children, the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. This year we did pilot a program that unfortunately, as I mentioned to you in past meetings, we did not land on as saying we're going to move forward with. So this program has been organized and tested in other spaces, and they've seen progress with it. So, and we have looked at it ourselves along with our building leaders across the district. So we will be working with that next year. Math work and math curriculum, as you guys know, and we've shared throughout the year, Amplify Desmos is our math curriculum. We're moving from this idea of 6 to 12 in some pilot schools in elementary to something that's going across our schools in kindergarten through our 8th grade going into next year. Beth has done a great job of organizing sessions throughout the year, preparing our teachers as well as our parents. The things that she's done inside of her trainings have all been Amplify related, so parents can get an idea of what does that curriculum look like for their kids across grade levels. But the same through line here is around making meaning for our kids inside of math routines and tasks that promote problem solving for our learners. So this is also on the horizon. I do ask that you enter into this space and provide me with any feedback that comes to you. If something hits you, say, you know, Mike, what about? Always entertain that conversation. So please feel free to do that. And this, I just wanted to share, we've talked about this already. You guys have shared this, but I want to give you a very quick snapshot of what's been happening with this. So I've asked in these last two columns for SLTs to also contribute to this. So SLTs from across our schools, you should be seeing this as a conversation around what does academically and social emotional safety look like? What does academically rigorous look like? What does integration look like? But these other 2 buckets, really important for me from our SLTs, is what does it mean to make meaning? What does that actually look like, sound like, and feel like for our communities? What do we really want? So that as we're designing our professional learning, we're really thinking really strongly around PLs that we need to organize and think about so that we have a collective, collaborative decision and definition for what this means.
Yeah. Yeah. I myself did 185. It's already did CSC. I don't.
Oh, you don't have to do it again. No. If you did it once, you don't have to feel like. But as an SLT, you'll contribute together. It won't have to be individual. But what I like about this is seeing other perspectives, and I encourage you to take a look. And what you'll see everyone is doing, you'll see PS21 SLT at the bottom. They're just noting that it's their school that is represented in here. So we have a number of our SLTs that have already met in either end of April, beginning of May. And then throughout May, I'm hoping that every school contributes to this, so we have a solid understanding of what everyone believes this should mean. And then we'll start establishing a collective one that's also backed by research to support everyone's perspectives inside of the space. But I wanted you to know that that exists, and I hope that you also take advantage of that as CEC members if you haven't done so already. And this is the last part. This is a future conversation. We touched on this very briefly. Portrait of a Graduate is something that is coming from New York State and New York Inspires, and this will be future conversation centric, where we'll be discussing what does it mean to be academically prepared, what does it mean to be a creative innovator, what does it mean to be a creative thinker, effective communicator, global citizen, and reflective and future focused. What you saw today from our kids actually is reflective of that, in terms of being civically minded, connected, a researcher, thinking critically. All of those things from Civics for All, Project Soapbox, all has its relationship to this work. For us, it's about getting perspectives from all of our community members so that we're doing the things that our community really values inside of it. What you'll also learn is the adjustments that are going to happen, not necessarily for Ben, because he's now graduating and going to Fordham, but for students moving forward, what it means for graduation and what it means in terms of diploma. Those particular entry points are changing. So instead of having the Regents diploma and the other iterations of it, there'll be one diploma with seals that get part of an individual's diploma. So I'm going to bring to you moving forward, probably not the June one because we have our celebration, but likely in July we'll start talking more in depth around the presentation that goes around Portrait of a Graduate, so that everyone has a true understanding and we're as educated on it as we possibly can be. But I wanted to just post this here so that everyone had an idea that this is coming, okay? And I think that's it for me. Yes, that's it. That wasn't bad, right? How did I do?
You're good.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to come back to what's next on our agenda. I'm going to quickly go to my president's report, and then we'll go to the superintendent evaluation, because that we need to do an executive session for. I just wanted to share with everyone, thank you all first for voting with the Equity Council. I have been voted in as one of our Queens representatives for our Equity Council. So, thank you. I've also been very busy the last 2 weeks because I am, as a CEC president, part of the nominating committee for the PEP. Right now, they actually had a meeting this evening. It actually just ended, I was told. It was a nice quick meeting. But we finished all our interviews of the initial candidates. We do have one of our CEC members who interviewed with us. So Shirley was one of our interviews. We do have our borough forum though on May 14th from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a 2-hour window. Everyone is invited to join that, and I'll make sure you guys have that link. However, only I will be able to ask the questions on our behalf. But what I'm asking is, if anyone has any specific questions that come to mind, you send them to me privately, because I don't want them shared in the chat right now. So I would ask that you send them to me privately. So I would ask that. Other than that, that's really it from me. I know we have, next month is going to be our celebration, so I will make that very quick. And I'm going to ask if everyone is okay with going into a quick executive session for us to discuss Dr. Mike's evaluation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We will be back momentarily, so just bear with us. Okay. Bye guys.
I'm going to tell you how proud we are of you, and honestly, you're going to do a fantastic job in whatever you do. And just listening to you ask me questions was actually one of my highlights.
Aw, they had a little quality time. Okay.
Oh, he kept me honestly.
Thank you everyone for bearing with us. We were able to go over Dr. Mike's superintendent evaluation that we are required to do every year. I will be scheduling time to meet with Dr. Mike to go over that evaluation privately. However, as a council, we're just going to go through a quick roll call vote, just that we've agreed on all the scores that we have. So if you could just do a quick roll call for me.
Eden,
Yes.
Shirley,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Amy's not here, Vincent,
Yes.
Stephanie's not here, Grace,
Grace is in the bathroom, but she was good with us. I'll let her chime in after.
Shauna,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
and Ken.
Yes.
We'll get her
Yeah.
when she comes in, but, okay. Thank you, everyone, for helping with that. I will email you to schedule some time,
100%.
like we did last year. At least we are doing this at our award ceremony meeting
Yeah.
this year. So we're a step in the right direction.
Huh.
On that note, does
Thank you,
anybody have anything for public speaking? You know, you want to share anything? Anybody on Zoom?
No, we're the only ones.
We're the only ones. Okay, awesome. If that's the case, does somebody want to, Grace, what was your vote, yes or no, by the way? About our agreement on the scores?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Motion?
There you go.
Seconded.
Got it. It is 9:06. If everyone's fine with it, I would love to just kind of zoom right into the business meeting because of time. And I'll sign everyone's papers as soon as we're done with that. So 9:07, I'm going to call it to order and we go through roll call.
Eden,
Yes.
Shirley,
Present.
Christine,
I'm
here,
like voting.
Angela,
That kind of here.
Amy's not here, Vincent,
Here.
Stephanie's not here, Grace,
Yes.
Shauna, here, Steven,
Here.
Ken,
Yes.
Natasha's not here, Ben.
Here.
Perfect.
Good to go.
So we will have to skip the minutes for right now and we will review them.
The printer was giving me a
Yeah,
hard
in the
time.
future.
I wasn't able to print the minutes. I can email it to you guys electronically if you want to do it like that, but.
We'll
Other
adopt
than
them
that, you
at a
guys
later
can do it.
date.
I was gonna say, you guys
Yeah.
can do it at the next month.
So, I mean, you and I saw them, but we will, not you. Who was it?
No,
Stephanie saw it. I'm sorry.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, I'm looking at you. I'm used to Stephanie being over there. So we reviewed it, but I will make sure that everyone has a chance to see that the next time we are fully in a meeting setting, so we can adopt those minutes. She just stepped out, so we will come back to that. I already touched base on the PEP candidate forum about sending me questions. So I hope I get some good questions this week sent to me because it's only a few days away. I can only use 2, max 3 overall once I get them. So I will see what doesn't look like duplicates to other councils of what they're sharing to me, and then I will make sure we have that. So we're good there. Anybody do any school visit in April that I should know about?
There was I'm 379.
In April?
Yeah, April.
Do you have the date?
April 23rd.
April 23rd. Okay.
Time flies.
Anybody else have any school visit in April? Okay.
Amy did, but she's not here.
Right. Amy had something, but I will have to wait and find out. Okay. Sean is not back yet, so that's why I skipped it for now. We're gonna go to the award ceremony for now. First of all, we officially have our location. We will be returning to JHS 194 this year for our award ceremony. They are able to accommodate, they have some AC in there, so we won't be dying of the heat. And they usually are able to provide some like
usually have some
snacks for the
snacks for the
kids,
breakfast.
things like that. They make it kind of, because it's really there for the children to have that while they're waiting. As you can see, Egypt is showing that we did finally receive everything after our chaos last month.
Is that the umbrella?
That is the umbrellas. They are amazingly sized.
I love it.
It has the logo here.
Nice.
I think that's amazing. The size of them is great.
Yeah, you do.
You guys get to.
Don't open it, no.
Yes.
It's a nice size umbrella. That's even bigger than the ones we got at
We're
193.
protecting the entire community with that umbrella.
You could have like a whole group.
Eden, just to clarify, is our meeting gonna be at 193 before or the ceremony?
There's technically no, that is our meeting.
So you kind of host, I mean, you do similar things at,
We'll do
that
roll
you would be a
call.
roll call and all that.
And But there won't be like a business meeting after that day?
Just wanted to confirm, because it's first go around on this.
Yeah, no, come dressed nice, we're gonna be on the stage, presenting, we're gonna be calling names. As soon as we have all the names, so as soon as I have all the students' names, we'll create a list of them, and then we'll kind of break that list up, so everybody gets a chance to call some of the students' names. We are getting names in, but we haven't gotten all of them yet.
13 responses, so you're just waiting for more. I think like the 30th is the last day.
Yeah, we'll get on them, they'll all get them in.
Yeah, so usually Lewis will follow up. This is one of our lovely awards. It looks amazing. This is our medal. I don't know if you guys
Yeah, I
can
was
see.
gonna say, they have one over here.
Okay, and then the other one is here.
Huge.
Wow.
They look amazing, though. I have to say. Amazing work, EJ.
Thank you. I thought that you guys would like this one, so I picked it.
So I'm gonna pass this your way so they can get that back. Does anybody have any other questions about the award ceremony?
Like 1, 2, so be it not. If I just pull up and say, you know, like for the way we do graduation.
Wednesday?
Or, you know, just.
That might be their prom.
Thank you.
You're gonna be there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If you're not able to make it, we will miss you. If you are able to make it, we would love to have you on the stage with us, helping present. But you let us know once you figure that out, and if you can't be there, you can't be there. I mean, your prom is your prom, and we don't want you to miss that either.
Yeah, certainly not. It's June 3rd.
Okay. So, I'm gonna circle back to Shauna really quick. Do we have a copy of it for her?
The budget?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, if you could just go over the budget real quick.
Sure. So for reimbursements, we have $2,500 remaining. Meeting expenses, $2,400 remaining. The card still has $500.
And there's a
Not-
charge on that.
Yeah, there's pending charges.
Okay. Supplies, $702 remaining. And equipment repairs and equipment are both down to $0.
Awesome, thank you. So, I would like to ask the council if they are okay with adding something to our business agenda briefly. There is a resolution that Stephen has sent that is in front of everybody,
I can do it in 30 seconds.
about systemic failures in preschool. So can I just see a show of hands if you're okay with putting this on the agenda for us to go over right now? Just raise your hand if you are in favor of doing that. Okay, perfect. So Stephen, go ahead.
Cool. There was a report from the preschool data analysis by the New York City Public Schools. Only 62% of preschool students with disabilities received all programs and services that were in full compliance with their IEPs. Also, 60.3% of preschool students with a disability were fully placed students receiving services in full compliance. So this is a resolution also in support of other CECs where parents have been saying things, basically encouraging the state and encouraging New York City Public Schools to basically fix their system. Because in Queens, there are 2 weekend and after school centers that are to cover all students with disabilities who are not receiving their proper services. There have been ways where parents would have to leave work, and would have to travel long distances to try and get student services that are guaranteed to them by law. So this is basically us standing in support of preschool parents, of children with disabilities, receiving the services that their children are entitled to. That's it.
Okay. With that being said, does anybody have any questions? Okay, can we do a quick roll call vote to putting that on the next agenda? I don't know if that could be in June, it would probably be July. We're not gonna try to vote on it in July. So we'll be voting on it at the July meeting.
Okay. Eden?
Yes.
Shirley? Yes. Christine? Yeah. Angela?
Yes.
Amy's not here. Vincent?
Yes.
Stephanie? Not here. Grace?
Yes.
Shauna?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes. Thank you guys.
No worries. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to bring up really quick, you do have a copy of another resolution in there. This is a resolution that Angela had been mentioning previously. This is not our resolution, but this is just for you to look at so that we can decide if you would like to go forward in creating a resolution. So take a look at it, take your thoughts. If you are interested, I would say connect with Angela since she's the one who kind of brought this up first. And we'll let Angela take the lead on it, if you don't mind.
Sure. Not okay. But I'm probably represent.
That's fine. We'll get into that separately. No, I'm saying the L seat, but you're,
Yeah,
it's not even an L anymore.
The reason why I knew about it, I went to the legislature.
She's the L seat and her daughter's not an L.
What happened is because my daughter was very shy and she didn't answer the questions till they thought that she can't speak English.
That's why I said we won't even go there.
And her first language was English. I was like, why is my turn?
Oh my goodness.
But you know what?
Can I
She
call
got
out
the
something
best
Yes.
English.
There you go.
I just like, if he's not going to the award ceremony, this would be our last meeting with Benjamin before he graduates.
Oh my goodness, Ben, you're gonna be the award ceremony. Prom.
Well, he's gonna be graduating in June.
And Natasha's not here. Do you know where Natasha got into school? Can you share with us that?
She's going to Hunter.
She's going to Hunter. Oh, okay. Good girl.
So, yeah, I just wanted to.
That's a great point.
Publicly thank Benjamin for
Yes.
showing up when you didn't need to and giving.
Yes. We have a meeting in July, but you finished your term
Yeah.
at that point. You can come visit us and hang out with us.
Maybe a nice cake for you guys. How's that?
If you come, I'll make sure there's something special.
We're happy to have you.
There you go, we'll email.
And congratulations, that's great.
Well, the social work.
Where you can come
whenever, and
I'll come July.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're happy to have you. It's good to see
I,
you.
guys, hold on, wait, Ben's saying something.
No, I just wanted to say for now, pleasure to work with all you guys, and I guess put this on my resume.
Yes, we do. It's been a pleasure having you and Natasha with us this year, and I would ask, spread the word to your fellow juniors that are going to be seniors next year. There is talk though with other CECs about trying to also expand it to juniors or seniors, so that when they get ready for their college application, they already have this.
Yeah.
So that is something I will be probably presenting shortly, I've been talking with some of the other CEC presidents in other districts, and we are gonna try to bring that resolution forward.
As you know, most of the people in my high school don't live in Northwood, so, but I'll try.
Yeah, so anybody you want to recommend, like people you know in student council, things like that there, those are the best ways to start. So thank you. I originally said planning for June meeting. Our June meeting is our award ceremony, so I'm gonna say let's plan for July, not June, really. Does anybody have anything specific that they would like to talk about, other than us obviously having our annual elections at the July meeting for our positions? We do have to do elections again in July. So I would say think about the positions, think about if you want to step into a position, if you don't want to stay in a position that you're in, start thinking about it out loud with each other, talk to each other, so that when we come in July, we can kind of get through the elections and have our regular calendar meeting.
Question about budget. Is this budget only good until July? So we have a lot.
We will have a date coming for,
The July
New budget.
no,
There's no rollover.
we have a date for July?
Yeah. Do we have to discuss that now? Because June we won't be able to.
The first.
Okay, so July's meeting is July 1st. So it's not on your birthday this year.
It's my birthday this year.
I won't be able to do that.
Oh,
I won't
you'll be away?
July 1st.
You gonna send our buddy?
Yeah, Uma could be.
Who was here, I don't know where he went, but
Yeah, Uma could be
must
here.
have left. Wait, he's still here somewhere. His stuff is here.
Yeah, he's probably.
He's hiding out somewhere.
He,
So we'll
Uma
let him speak.
is a worker bee, so he's probably still creating
Plug it away.
something somewhere, yeah.
But other than that,
Election, you're talking about vice president.
president, vice president, second vice president, secretary, treasurer, that kind of stuff. It's that, and then we can start talking about our budget for next year at that meeting. We can kind of get a head start on that. And I do want to bring up, I was just talking with Helena at Egypt, I would like to get a few people that are willing to take a look at our bylaws. We have some recommendations on some changes. I know we honestly just did this at the end of last year. We actually had to vote on it at the June meeting, which was our award ceremony, so we had to stay after. But I would love if somebody would like to step up and either spearhead that or help me with it, and I'll spearhead it. I don't mind, that we can work on the bylaws and make some adjustments. I know, Angela, you met with Helena. You were on briefly, I believe, right, the other day? But you stayed on for longer, so I know you've been hearing some of the conversations, so I don't know if you want to take part in that, if anyone else would like to step up into that. Sure. Angela, okay. Anybody else?
I can provide some backup, but June is Pride Month, so that's Really busy with business.
We don't have to do it in June, we're gonna start in July.
Then, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Stephen and Angela and I will join you guys for that, okay?
Our last committee?
Yeah, it's me, Shirley, Angela, and Stephen as of right now.
Okay.
And once we meet, we will bring together our ideas, we'll present it to everybody. If we all are in agreement, that's when we will present it out to everybody in the public during our calendar meeting, and then we can vote on it the following meeting.
So if this is the favor of other district, we could present to different district CCs as well.
I also do want to quickly share, I don't know if you know this, but I will share this. If, when we do our next step of PEP, if Shirley ends up on the PEP, she will unfortunately have to step down from CEC. So I just want you guys to know that that could be a potential thing. We don't know what's going to be, but
Not yet.
she has not been notified of whether she's made the next round or not yet to the forum, but she will be notified shortly. So just as a heads up, depending on how that all plays out, that's one of the possibilities. However, I encourage her strongly to continue going through this process, and I think she would be a great fit, so.
I thought you could be CC and President. It makes sense, but I mean, I thought
Yeah.
you could do.
Because, they conflict each other, there will be
Yep.
conflict.
Like right now, there was a PEP meeting while we're in our meeting.
Right, that's true. That part, yeah.
So, but I will make sure to get everyone the Borough Forum link by Monday, hopefully, at the latest. I'll send that out.
First 5 minutes, I'll be very nervous. I'll be very red. But I'll be
Good, you're fine.
You got this.
With that being said, we don't have to vote on any absences. The 2 people that had been on Zoom, we're good to go. Do you want to speak on that for the people that did not get to jump on the other day? Do you want to briefly speak on the absence thing?
So, part of the discussion, because we just haven't read it earlier, was
to review the section about attendance and hybrid participation. So when we have the discussion together about how the phrasing is for that section, we'll go over it so that moving forward, everyone can be on the same page with how the protocol is. In terms of reporting your attendance, your intent to be absent or your intent to participate through hybrid platforms or Zoom. So we'll go over that, and then.
Can I ask a favor? Before we start doing the work, can you schedule a meeting on your end for sometime early July? For this group of people to meet with you and kind of go over those items that you pointed out.
So it will be.
Okay, does that sound fair to those of you that are gonna help with the bylaws?
Yes.
This way you can schedule a meeting, it doesn't have to be that we come in person if you schedule it, so I'd rather you schedule that first.
Sure. So we'll touch base and go over the points that I noticed.
Right.
And then everyone we can discuss in that meeting. But in general, for those who were not able to make it on Monday, if you have a chance to look through the bylaws, there's some steps you can follow when it comes to reporting your attendance. So sometimes, let's say you have an emergency, there's a clause for emergency, so there are reasons that can be excused, but then for other reasons, they will be voted upon as a council. And then there's a timing too, so if it's 48 hours prior, please let your president and your AA know. If you just read the section, it's there, but I will send a recap of Monday for Angela and Sean was able to touch base a bit, but I'll send it out for everyone to see. But we'll go more in depth because there are some clauses I want to review with you guys because once you see it with me, you'll understand what I'm talking about in terms of
I mean, just from what she showed me today, I see.
Yeah, the steps.
I will say it was a little rushed last year to change the bylaws because we had some urgent things that came up that we needed to change, but there's always obviously improvements that we made.
Right.
You were here as we were going through that as well last year, Grace. So.
So we're just gonna take a look over it, and then I'll give you guys some examples too. So to see what would work best with the council. But basically, the council is a public body, but you can make steps in how you want to proceed with certain things, right? One of them being attendance, right? And then because there's some higher level regulations, including OML, so we have to make sure that they also follow OML. So your regulations cannot supersede those, right? So we're gonna go over that more in detail.
Yes.
I just have a quick question. which I didn't have it, is are the 3 maximum days, times, that you can be absent per year or per term? Per term.
And it's unexcused absences.
Unexcused, so if you're excused, it doesn't count against you.
Right, yeah. Okay.
I'll sign everyone's, if you want to pass it to me, I will sign as you're ready, just so you know, and Sean, I'll give you mine to sign in a minute. I thought I signed yours already.
Well, I gotta do it in April.
Why? Oh, it was the last month, you didn't do it last month. Okay, one last thing, just send them over and I'll sign them in a second. I didn't finish signing, did I? Okay. Last thing to just note, Stephanie did finally respond to me, we had not heard from her. She had a family emergency, lost track of time. We will vote on her absence next month. That will be something that I will have us vote on at the end of the awards, or we'll bring it up in July to vote. But she had a family emergency. With that said, go for it. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion.
Okay, 9:26.
I heard Steven, I didn't hear.
I heard Shirley and Steven, I don't know who else I heard.
3 of us, 4 of us.
Okay, with that, we are done.
Folks,
Thank
if you're
you.
interested, this is the publication that District 25 was a part of. Mentioned it during our last session. It's called All Systems Go. We were kind of interviewed by the Center for Public Research at Columbia University. So this is the publication. You'll see myself quoted in there along with some of our district principals and parents and teachers. So if you feel like a quick read, feel free. You're welcome to a copy of it, but I do think it's something that's nice for our district to be represented that way.
I am gonna, as I collect these and sign them, I will just take them so that I can give them to Egypt all at once.
She did leave some wonderful, insightful information for you guys.
I will send you guys information as we get closer to let you know what time to be at 194. I will get there early for setup, but we want to make sure we're there a little early, so I will make sure to
I might
send
see
that
you
to
here too, to help
Ben,
support
I don't know if
as
you
we
want one
always
of
do.
these from the.
But guys, thank you so much. Everyone enjoy the night.
Thank you
And
guys
if
for
you're a
my-
Knicks fan, we're up 96-94 right now with 7 minutes left, just in case.
I will email you for, to set up that meeting and I'll switch base with you about the other stuff. that we were talking
Tomorrow
about.
I'm at a school most of the morning and into the afternoon, but anytime you want to chat.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Get home safe. They're all there, ready to go. So if they're there, I'm gonna hand them in. You're good. I already reviewed them, they're signed, and you're good. I just need Shauna's signature on mine.
Okay. Thanks. What day was our last month's meeting, do you remember?
The 15th.
Good night.